Hello and welcome to this episode of the Soul Align Network. I am Criss Madrigal and I have an incredible guest with me. So let us know if you are catching us live or not. But here we are and I'm grateful for this opportunity today. I'm the host of the Soul Align Network, and I'm also the founder of the community, which is a beautiful space where we gather to help individuals come in alignment with what they're calling into their lives right now. And so I have the great honor of bringing in guest experts into our community that get to share their wisdom in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, and personal power. And I get to also bring our guest experts onto the podcast so they can continue to share their message, not only with the members in the community, but also with the world. And today I get to have Allison Stillman. She is known as the Destiny Architect, and she empowers visionary women to dissolve old limitations and design a life aligned with their soul divine blueprint. And I'm super excited for this conversation that we're going to jump into. We're going to talk about and explore the alchemy of aroma. And I love it because I love that topic and I don't know nearly enough about it. But before we get into all of that, welcome, Allison. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Criss. I'm really excited to be here. And I know that we're going to have an incredible conversation. And I want to invite everyone to just take what you can from this and allow it to really settle into you and help you align with your soul driven purpose. Yeah.
I love it. I take that and I receive it for myself for this conversation that we're going to get into.
Yeah.
But before we actually dive deeper into the magic of aroma and the energetic alchemy, I would love to start with your journey. Just because so often the work that we're called to do is something that really that I've noticed that transforms people personally, right? And that's what I love. I love to start with this question because it just gives me so much more of an individual and their journey, and it's always so beautiful. So why don't we start there?
So I would say there's two things that have really guided my path pretty much throughout my life. One is that I grew up with a grandmother who was an extraordinary horticulturalist, and she had phenomenal flowering, fragrant plants in her garden. And I even have pictures of me when I was little in diapers, and I'd be following her around the garden. And it was always something that brought me so much joy. And then I had an experience when I was 18 and I was in the redwoods in Northern California, and I was down in the bottom of this forest and walking along this creek, and I started to smell this fragrance. And I thought, well, I know it's not the redwood trees. What is that? And it was this really sweet floral fragrance. And I just followed the scent along the creek bed. And I came upon this beautiful wild rhododendron covered in flowers. And I realized that was what was emitting the fragrance. And I went over and I just put my head in the bush, and it overtook all of my senses. So not only was I taking the fragrance in, I could see this soft pink color with my eyes closed. I could hear this gentle calling, if you will, or this singing, if you will, and I could feel this soft touching of my skin. And I realized that the fragrance was overtaking me, and it was becoming in the predominant sense in me. And from that moment onward, I began a study of aromatherapy and aromatic herbs, and was obsessed with it. And there wasn't a lot at that point in time out there. It's developed greatly over the last 40 years. But I started studying with renowned aromatherapists and doctors who work with aromatherapy. And I met the world's leading distillers and distilled oils. I've grown and distilled them. And then there was one other thing, and this was very paramount to my journey as well, that I was studying with a doctor out of the UK who is a very well known, one of the renowned aromatherapists, Dr. Valerie Ann Warwood. She's written many, many books on aromatherapy. And I was in a classroom, and it was the very first time, this was probably 40 years ago, that I smelled pure Omani frankincense, which is the finest frankincense in the world. And it's become very, very rare and very difficult to find now. But at that time, it was my first exposure to it. Frankincense is a psychoactive essential oil, meaning that it induces visionary states. And it's been used in spiritual and religious ceremony for thousands of years. And when I inhaled it, I went back to the foot of the cross and I was watching Jesus be crucified. And I was with all of the disciples and I could see the village down below. We were up on this sandy mound and I could feel everybody in the experience. And by the time I came back into awareness in the room, everyone was standing around me like, what's happened to this woman, right? And somebody had their hand on my arm. She said, are you okay? And the first words out of my mouth were, I want to do anointing work.
Mm.
He said, what is that? I said, I don't know. I don't know why I said that. So I bought frankincense from Valerie and I started meditating with it. And over the course of 6 months, I was taken back to the Temple of Dendara in a remembrance of this sacred ceremony that we did for initiation, for coronation, for ordination, for last rites. And all of the modern day sacraments are based on these ancient rituals we did in the temples. And I brought anointing back into the world again and started doing it, wrote a book about it, have taught many, many workshops. But when I first started doing research on it, there was nothing written except for what was in the Bible. And so I just started playing with it, and people started having such profound experiences with it. And what I've discovered over the years is it's probably the most powerful way to awaken divinity of anything that I've ever come across.
Mhm.
And it is also an incredible way to release the old paradigms and programs and belief systems that we take on in our youth that generally go unconscious and run the show until we start to do the deep work. And releasing it from the body is probably the last phase of acknowledging that that's really what's happening. And essential oils have an incredible ability to go into the live tissue of the body and release these old genetic programs or paradigms that we borrow when we're little. And so I love being able to empower people to clear those blocks, those programs, those belief systems that keep them from claiming their sovereign divine essence and standing in their truth of who they really are.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that. I feel like I have 1,000 questions for you now, but we
Go
definitely
ahead.
don't have time for 1,000 questions. But what a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I, as you were talking, I was envisioning you like on the side, just putting your head inside, the plant. I forget which plant you just said it was or what.
Mandarin, yeah.
Yes, and that experience that you had. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a privilege to be able to have that experience,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I the very first question that really just comes to me um is what are those essential oils or I don't know if there's one or many that allow you to have those connections because honestly, this is like totally new to me, right? When I think essential oils, I think of aromas, putting it in your um humidifier, not humidifier, but you know what I mean. The I'm blanking out on the word
Diffuser.
here.
The diffuser.
Um diffuser. Yes, thank you. Um, but it's more of like the essential oils you go buy at the store, you just put a few drops and then, but what essential oils are the ones that allow you to really connect with yourself and have those profound experiences?
Well, I think, especially right now, I think it's important to think about a few things. First of all, we are electromagnetic frequent frequency beings, right?
Yeah.
As are plants and herbs and trees. And so essential oils are the electromagnetic volatile liquid compounds from that are distilled from trees, plants, grasses, roots, etc. They have all of the information that a plant needs in order to survive and all of the wisdom and everything it needs. It's very similar and homogeneous to our blood. And that's why they're very symbiotic to us. They've also been tested and shown they have very high frequencies. So we vibrate somewhere at around 55 to 70, depending on how healthy, lack of stress, etc. And what happens is when our frequency gets lowered from stress, not sleeping, bad diet, etc., that's when we become vulnerable to illness,
Mm.
disorder, that kind of thing. And so we want to think about keeping our frequency as high as possible. So when they tested these oils, rose, for example, which has been the symbol of love for
Hmm.
forever, right? Love is the highest frequency that we can
Yeah.
vibrate at. Rose came in around 300 megahertz. So just imagine if you put a couple drops of rose on or smelled rose, even if you just had cut roses on your table and you were smelling the fragrance, it's raising your frequency. So in today's environment, because we're constantly being bombarded by all the energetics that are happening and the stress and etc., we want to do everything that we can to protect the electromagnetic frequency around our bodies.
Hmm.
So the oils that are really good for that are lavender, frankincense, and blue chamomile. And I actually have done some studies looking at the energetic field around our bodies when we smell those oils, when we put them on our body, when we anoint ourselves in an act of consecration. It changes the auric field, or the in Carillion photography, you can see the auric field around your body, right? We can reinforce that, which enables us to not take on so much stress or deal with other people's stress, or, as spiritual beings and empathic, particularly as women, we want to help everyone. We want to serve, right? We want to take care of
Yeah.
the world, but it's not really our job. Our job is to be the biggest frequency of love that we can be so that that permeates the world.
Oh my goodness. That is awesome. I mean, I never even considered thinking, yes, aromas and stuff, but I mean, the power that different aromas have, right? And those I never even contemplated the idea that it could change your auric field, right? I mean, how incredible is that oils or scents can do that in the human
Well,
body?
and the other thing about even just smelling essential oils or a fragrance, the fastest way to access the emotional and behavioral centers of the brain is through the sense of smell.
Mm,
You can change your feeling, your emotions, your behaviors just by smelling something, by smelling an oil, right? And
yeah.
then there's actually the physiological effects that happen, like say, for example, using lavender, taking a couple drops of lavender, which is the only oil I would recommend using undiluted on the skin, taking a couple drops, smelling it, and rubbing it on the back of your neck, and then just holding it and allowing it to actually penetrate into the dermis layer and hit the nervous system will calm and relax the central nervous system. And we all need that because our central nervous systems right now, under the circumstances, particularly, well, it's all over the world now, we're under a very stressful time. So anything that we can do to mitigate that in our own personal journey and in our bodies and our emotional state, then we can serve in a much bigger way.
Yeah. I mean, as you were saying that, you made me think of the signature event that you did. And I remember it's like you had us like smell the scent, and you made me think of that. Now, for people that are listening, I mean, I know lavender is one of my favorite scents, but how does one determine what is a good essential oil? Because I mean, let's be honest, we can go to any department store, if you will, or any grocery store almost, and get yourself some lavender oil, but I know they're not all made the same.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So I'd say the best thing to do is do some online searching. And you want to, I particularly like organic oils and I like them tested, chromatically tested to make sure that they still have live frequency to them. I'm very particular because I'm using them for a very high frequency type of work, right? And so, and I've also worked with a lot of distillers. I know a lot of the suppliers, et cetera. So I want to know the chain of command from when it was grown, who distilled it, and that nothing dilutes it along the way. So it's an acquired wisdom,
Yeah.
and people just need to do the research to find out, okay, is this a reliable source? Where did they get it? Is it organically sourced, depending on what they want to use it for? One of the best books ever is one of the first books that Dr. Valerie Warwood wrote, the Encyclopedia of Essential Oils and Aromatherapy. It's basic. It'll talk about oils and how they work, etc. But that gives beginners a really good understanding of what essential oils are and how they work.
Hmm.
And there's also an element of the more that you use them, the more intuitive you become with them,
Yeah.
and they start to talk to you because they're
Mhm.
live electromagnetic molecules, right? And so
Right,
there
right.
is a consciousness there.
And I think that's probably what kind of led to that question, because there's what you just mentioned, these live molecules, but then it's like once you go through all this processing, it's like I'm pretty sure some of those oils out there are do not have them anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't either. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. You mentioned, you bring this into the work that you do. So let's talk a little bit about that. How did you come to this work, and like what was that turning point really that led you to become what you're known as like the Destiny Architect?
So when I started doing the anointing work way back in the day, I recognized I've always had this relationship with angels, and they really started working with me in this work. And so, you spend enough decades working with them and you trust, right? I tested it in the beginning. Well, if that's really true, make my leg move,
Yeah.
it was. I want a sign, and the owl would show up on my windowsill.
Yeah, yeah.
And and so now I listen when they tell me what's the next step, what's the next phase. And they designed this new coaching program. And they designed it with their intention of reaching as many people as possible and speaking to as many people as possible because they have a lot they want to share with humanity right now. And so when I work with a client, either in person or virtually, I get out of the way. I just say, okay. And whatever comes through is so on point for whoever it is that I'm working with. And I don't remember most of it because it's not me. I make
Just
myself
channeling.
available, right?
Yeah.
And clients will come back later to me and they'll say, "Well, don't you remember you told me this?" And I go, "No, I don't remember anything I told you because it wasn't me."
Yeah.
Right? I get out
Yeah.
of the way. And then I also like to incorporate, I've had a lot of amazing mentors, Bob Proctor, Dr. Joe, all kinds of people like that. And I like to supplement the practices that I bring in and offer to my clients with a custom fragrance that I create for them.
Mm.
That too is divinely guided by the angelic council. And so, in combination with the different practices that I offer up the clients and the particular heart scent um, formula that I create for them, they then have the work to do to clear the beliefs, well, not only the belief systems, but the behaviors and patterns that developed around those belief systems. We've now brought into awareness so they can clear that and they can implant new belief systems. And it's really amazing.
It sounds amazing. So then you create this essential oil specifically for them based on the work that they're wishing
Preconception.
to
Yes.
work on.
Yes.
And then they use the oils in combination to just release all this that they've been carrying.
Yes, and oftentimes what'll happen is when you start to like you're doing some of your custom affirmations and you're anointing yourself and consecrating yourself, the old programs go, wait a minute, what are you doing? This isn't going to work, because our instinctual nature is to not change.
Yeah.
Our brain is hardwired not to change. And that comes back from the caveman days when it wasn't safe to go out of the cave,
Hmm.
right? And so we're hardwired not to want to change. So you have to circumnavigate that and override it and be willing to be uncomfortable in the change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because it's going to be uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, it
And I
is.
think that that's really what holds people back from, I'm going to go out and say from evolving, from, letting go of so much is once it starts surfacing, it is so uncomfortable, you may not want to face it.
Right,
You'd
right.
rather just continue the path that you're on,
Yeah,
continue to be uncomfortable,
yeah,
continue to, I'm going to go as far as saying complain about certain things because you don't want to face yourself.
right, right. And one of the things that I'm so grateful to you for is creating this network of soul aligned beings who are coming together now because we realize it's not about being the solopreneur anymore. It's going to
Yeah.
take a collective of us. So I would love, we talked about this a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
but I would love to hear your mission statement about why you created this platform for us all to come together and how we can work together to raise the collective good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that question. I mean, I'll share a little bit about my journey because a group didn't necessarily start this way. I started just as, me here wanting to share my knowledge, my wisdom with women. And in fact, I started with Latinas because I'm a Latina woman. So I just started with that. And I remember my husband just telling me, why are you limiting yourself? You're meant to like share more with a bigger audience. And I just kind of set it aside. In fact, I set my group aside for a while because I felt something else was coming through. And I decided, and the way that it came through was I was meditating and I woke up and I was just the Soul Aligned Network. That is the name. That's the name that it's going to be. And at first, I'm like, okay, this sounds, you know, I don't know how it sounds in the moment, maybe because it was going to be a complete change, right?
Yeah,
But it felt good.
yeah,
It felt like a calling. And so I put together, I revamped and I said, okay, it's a soul aligned network. And my mission is it's a free group, right? My mission is for people to come into this group who are seeking alignment in different areas of their life. And in that process, I thought, well, if I really want to serve humanity, I can't do it alone.
right.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not an expert in everything, nor do I wish to be an expert. So now I desire to open this community and bring in experts that are going to help members in the community, right? And so that's where I got even more uh, focused and said, it's the areas of health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, and personal power because they all coexist together.
Yes, they do.
Because if you are out of alignment in one area of your life, it's going to impact the others. And
Absolutely.
so that's how it began. It began with me getting a message saying, this is what you're going to call it. And then just tuning in and allowing myself to just continue to evolve with it, right? And so it started and now it has evolved. We've had multiple dozens of guest experts come through and share their knowledge, their wisdom with the members. And it's a way for me to be able to give back to the world, if you will, in a small fraction, right? Because it's a big world, but that's my way of giving to humanity, of being able to allow other coaches, leaders, healers, experts to come in and also share their wisdom with the world and create that space, right? That platform. That's why it's like a twofold community, one for members to come and receive and for guest experts to share, right?
And also for us to know that we're not doing it alone.
Absolutely.
We're walking arm in arm, and each of us has our unique role to play, and we have each other's back.
And I'll tell you, Allison, I created this group very intentionally when this message came through me. And I want it to feel good. I want it to feel connected. I want it to have a purpose and not just be like like many other communities where it's like, I'm just gonna post, 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 post. Like it didn't feel right. It just felt like it needs to be collective wisdom. People that really want to come in and receive. And I get members that are coming in, there's specific questions that I ask the group just because I want to know what drew them to them. And it's community. I want to feel connected. I want to feel aligned. And this feels right to me. Now, I will also say that we have a lot of members who watch silently, you know, but I know they're taking it in. And I know because of messages I receive later. So it's a space where it's not a very loud space like, "Oh my goodness, here we are." But it's a space to connect. It's a space to come and receive. And it's a space for the guest experts to share what they love and give people opportunity. Like if someone is listening and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love this topic that Allison is, sharing. I want to connect with her." And it gives people paths to connect to someone who is going to help them in their journey
Yes.
because
And
that someone may not be me.
and to have the tools that can help them on a day-to-day basis too, because everyone needs that right now.
Yeah, and that's why I also created it where we're strategic and every day of the week, we focus on a different pillar with our guest experts, but I also, we save their signature events, their topics in the guide section. So if someone new comes in and they missed you because you came in, a couple weeks ago, then they can tune into your message,
Right.
right? And by you showing up and delivering and sharing the work that you do so openly, it allows people to connect further.
Yeah. It's a wonderful gift. I applaud you and thank you for listening to the message and allowing this vehicle to be born.
And I know it's going to be something bigger,
I do
but
too.
I'm allowing it to just come through.
Yeah.
And I tell my husband all the time, there is the message has been given to both he and I in different ways. There is something bigger for he and I to do together. We may not be able to see it right now,
Right.
but
It's not time.
it's right. It's not the time. And he's got some incredible gifts that I know are meant to be shared in this world.
Yeah.
But the timing will reveal itself.
And I think I've worked with a couple men recently, and I think men are watching women really claim their power now, and they're not exactly sure where they fit in. And so, working with the men that I've worked with, I see that they need some guidance on what does my path look like now? Because I've been so in the masculine do, and women are more of just allow the wisdom to come through. Allow the intuition to tell you when it's time to move or what to do. And men don't have that per se. And so when we collaborate with them, we bring very powerful aspects that can make it whole. So,
Hmm.
speaking to you and your husband, there's going to be a really interesting collaboration when you can bring those two elements together and empower the bigger picture.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, right? Because as we both study ourselves, I am very in the masculine, very in the masculine, and he's very in the feminine. And so he has that ability to allow things to just flow. And I'm just the do. So it's this beautiful combination that in a moment of time, probably not appreciated by either one of us until until we got to know ourselves as individuals a little bit more. And so I sit here with this beautiful vision of, allowing it to just come through. I know when the time is right, it will.
Yes.
Until then, we're going to sit and wait to receive it.
Well, and what you're building right now is so vitally important too. So it's all in perfect divine timing.
I believe it. I believe it based on my own journey, based on his own healing journey, which is incredible. We've had absolutely different experiences, but just the conversations that we now get to have together are just are just incredible. And
Yeah.
that's what I tell him. You're meant to share your message
Yeah.
in one way or another.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to just let that be delivered however it's intended, and
Right.
it's going to carry some beautiful medicine for others.
It might be a fun thing for you both to do to get some frankincense oil and do a little ceremony between the two of you where you sit across from each other and you each take a couple drops and anoint each other's hearts and then put your hand over each other's hearts and just look into each other's eyes and then smell the oil as well. And in that consecration that you do of each other, when you consecrate something, you're making or declaring it sacred and divine.
Mm,
But it would be a really beautiful exchange energetically for you to do,
yeah.
to just envision what wants to pop out.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk after this. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. And I'm so grateful to have this connection with you as well because this is what I say, uh, there's guest experts that come in and talk and share, but it's having these conversations, these individual conversations that I absolutely love. It is my favorite part because I get to know more about the person. I get to, connect deeper. And this is where I really get to see who are those individuals that I feel truly connected with their purpose and their mission. And there's something about you, Allison, as you've been talking, that it's like I feel a connection that I don't know where it's coming from, right? But I'm just gonna let it be
Well, there's a reason for it. We were brought together for
for a
this,
reason, right?
or more, or who knows, but there's definitely a strong connection there. I feel it too.
Yes. And like I said, we could probably keep talking forever. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, where did it go? But Allison, I want
Thank
to thank
you.
you so much just for really opening my eyes on this idea of aromas and scents that I honestly didn't contemplate to that extent of how it could help us work through some deeply rooted, beliefs or things that we've been carrying. So thank you for bringing that to my awareness in this way. And for anyone who's listening, who's now probably as intrigued as I am, or just wants to know how to connect with you, how do I get these oils from you, or whatever it may be, how can they connect with you?
So I have a website. It's just AllisonStillman.com, and they can find me there. And I also have my offerings on there as well. And same on social media, it's Allison Stillman. So they can reach out to me that way.
Beautiful. When we end, I'll make sure to put your, tag you and you can share all your links and everything in the comments as well. And for those of you that are tuning in, if you are not a part of the Soul Line Network, this is your invitation to join, to allow yourself to come and receive. And there is always a message that will be delivered to you. And I say that in anything, right? You can come into this community and just allow yourself to feel into what it is that, what is that message that you are wanting or calling to receive, and allow yourself to see it through our community members, through our guest experts. And I do want to share that Allison did have a signature event in our community. It was aromatic alchemy, how sacred scents support the body, mind, and spirit. So if you would like to tune into that, please go into the group and you will find it in the guides section in the replays under spirituality. Allison, thank you once again. And
Thank
for
you,
everyone
Criss.
else tuning in, we will see you next time. We send you so much love.